Rick and I had leaned in, squinting for some gray patch the doctors assured us was tumor, surrounded by innumerable other grayish shapes that fit inside what was obviously my boy's cranium. There is no objectivity when it is your child's scan. Even if our untrained eyes could locate whatever the hell Dr. Kuzumano was asking us to see, we did not want to find it. Not really. There was never going to be a day when I would glance at a screen and exclaim, "Oh, look, isn't that fascinating? A great big tumor in my son's head." I didn't want to identify the residual tumor. I wanted to scoop up our child, swaddle him the way I did when he was a newborn, and run out of the NICU as if I'd pulled off a bank heist. Please, not my baby. Please, not my baby. Pounding its relentless rhythm through my head as I looked away from the monitors, willing the tears to wait just a few more minutes to preserve some amount of dignity. I could not fathom this was happening. We were calmly talking to a team of brain surgeons about operating on my 16-year-old son again. How is this not a sci-fi movie? Rick and I, parents but no longer partners, a successful corporate executive, and an urban designer turned author, stood like useless space holders, pylons. What could we say about the speculation that another microscopic adventure behind my son's face could improve the chances of grasping another minute piece of tumor? Every cell we take improves the chances that the secreting portions of the adenoma have been excised. Uh-huh, was what I managed back. We feel there is a good chance that we can get a bit more of the remnant. We only got about 60% of it in the procedure. Please think about it, and we'll let you know how things look after another follow-up MRI. Now looking down at Aaron's swollen face, the massive strips of tape stretching under his nose, holding globs of blood-soaked packing in his nostrils. His eyes told me how scared he was at the thought of going into surgery again. Dr. Kuzumano, in a tender gesture, moved closer, bent at the waist, and took Aaron's hand in his too. I know this isn't what you might have wanted. I'll leave you to talk to your parents about it, but we need to know in the next few minutes. Dr. Kuzumano had barely pulled the door close when Aaron, blotchy-skinned, wet-eyed, and pursed-mouthed, looked up into my face and spit his terror at me. "I'll hate you forever if you make me do this." And I ran. I felt like I'd been jabbed with a red-hot poker in the belly. Turning right out of his room, I covered the short distance to the elevator and elbowed my way through the people getting on. Then, two at a time, ran down the steps into the Toronto street. I just kept running, the thrumming of "oh my God," coming out of my mouth in rhythm with my feet on the sidewalk. I heard as much as felt long breaths drawing up through my nose, and then the tightening of my chest. Jesus, I'm going to have a heart attack. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I ignored it. He hates me for this. I walked. I did this to him. I kept walking. Where am I going now? I couldn't go back. How am I going to face him again? My son hates me. Pulled more than pushed, I walked up the middle of the wide concrete steps, treading on hollows worn down from a century of use, and into the vestibule of the massive church beside the hospital. Conscious of my heaving chest and a sound coming out of me like a wounded animal, I put my hand over my mouth as I tucked into a pew halfway down the sanctuary. What an appropriate name, I thought. Sanctuary, safe haven, calm in the storm, place of hiding. A half-dozen other people dotted the space. One lit a candle at the front, another two bowed their heads together whispering prayers, and others knelt on the padded rails. I stared up at the architecture, the history, and begged the stained glass windows to give me the strength to walk this path alone. He'd come through the first one. Have faith, for God's sake. He'll come through and be better for it the second time. An impossible but obvious choice. I hadn't come into that church for God. I was seeking a place where I could work out in my mind how doing the right thing for my kid could come with such a price. His life. His love. My heart.